Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am finally back with my Maiden Lane series of vlogs. I made it a goal last year. I wanted to finally read Elizabeth Hoyt. I started reading the Maiden Lane series, love it so much. It's one of my favorite series now, and I'm vlogging all of the books, so hopefully I don't think I created a vlog playlist yet for this, but I will. But anyways, I am finally here with the next couple books. So let's go ahead and get started with this vlog. Okay guys, so I just got to work. It's early in the morning, not looking great, but what else is new for a vlog? You know, I don't know. I was tired, really not feeling great this morning, so didn't really put a lot of effort into what I'm doing here. But anyways, enough of that. Let's get started because I do need to run into work in like 5 minutes. So wanted to get this vlog started though because I did start Darling Beast last night, and I am annotating it as always. I've been annotating all the books, trying to get the whole physically. Again, unfortunately I got them on like eBay, and some of these have these stickers and they're kind of worn, but it's okay, I don't really care. But anyways, Darling Beast, I was really excited to get to because this kind of is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Not really fully though, like it just has elements of like, I don't know, it doesn't fully feel like Beauty and the Beast retelling, but I was very excited for this one because this is about Apollo Greaves. He's the Viscount of Kilbourne, but in the previous book, it was his sister's, I think it was the previous book. It's been a bit, but I think it was the previous book where it was his sister, his twin sister's book. And she actually falls in love with the current ghost of St. Giles and everything. But her twin brother, Apollo, was in Bedlam, he was accused of killing his like 3 friends, murdering them. He was covered in blood, out of it, didn't remember anything. And he had been in Bedlam for like 4 years, being tortured. He's very big. He's a big guy. He's like, not what you consider handsome, but our heroine in this definitely finds him handsome. But he is a big guy, and he actually, in the previous book, a woman was getting abused and about to get assaulted by some of the guards, so he started to kind of like make a scene and try and fight back, and they really badly beat him. So she had actually gotten her Ghost of St. Giles lover to rescue him. She basically threatened to expose that he was the Ghost of St. Giles in order to save her brother from Bedlam. So I love her. She's a badass bitch. She's one of my favorite heroines of the series. But Apollo gets rescued, but after this beating, that one of the guards had like stepped on his throat like really badly, so he can't speak. So and he had actually put some money into this theater and like pleasure garden like theater that was in it, and in the previous book it gets burned down. So now he's actually kind of living there because he is in hiding. He's going under like a different name, I think like Sam Smith or something. And his friend is one of the Makepeaces, Asa Makepeace. And he actually, his friend is going by a different name to like run this theater and stuff. So anyways, he's working as like the head gardener and working on like rebuilding the grounds because everything burned down and it's in really bad shape. And then we have our heroine, Lily Strump, and she is actually a famous actress. She goes by a different name. She is living at the theater in like one of the places that wasn't as burned because she actually, like Asa had like kind of got her to come work for him in his theater and was going to pay her double the cost, double the price. And her previous employer basically said, I'm going to blacklist you if you go do that. And unfortunately, the theater burned down, so now she has nowhere to go and she doesn't have a gig and she's in a bad situation. She also has a young son. I think he's about 7 years old. He's very adorable. And then she has her maid that was kind of like her maid going up and helps her, and I love her. I think her name is Maud. Like, she's really funny. That's the thing, is Elizabeth Hoyt does such an amazing job with like writing side characters and building each character throughout each of these books, makes them very interesting. So I really love that about Elizabeth Hoyt's writing. But she's living there with her son, and so they run into Apollo, and her son builds like kind of like a friendship with him. And at first, it was really messed up. She thought just because he couldn't talk, like maybe he was dim-witted and not all there. And he basically kind of acted like he was, because he wants to stay in hiding and he doesn't want her to like figure him out. But eventually, she's like figures out he's not like dim-witted. He even like was like reading one of her plays. She actually writes plays too, and her brother basically sells them as his and then gets a percentage of her profit, which her brother is a total like loser, like taking advantage of her. And her brother is actually kind of threatening her, like, hey, I owe creditors, you need to come up with a play like immediately because I need money, type of thing. But her and Apollo start to kind of build this kind of like friendship, and she is very attracted to him, and like she's shocked by it. And so they're like slowly kind of forming an attraction here. As he's like working on the garden, she had to like tend to one of his wounds, all these different things. So I'm kind of summing that up quickly, but we also have Captain Trevelyan in here. He had been injured in the previous book, so his like, I think his knee and like leg was shattered or like broken really badly, so has a cane and he's in a lot of pain, so he's no longer able to be a dragoon or like do that work. So the hero from the previous book actually hired him to kind of like be a bodyguard and look after his sister, who basically had been going blind, and she's fully blind now. And so he is suspicious because he knows that the heroine from the previous book, her brother had escaped Bedlam, and she keeps like disappearing because she'll visit him once in a while. So he follows and finds out where Apollo is. And so there's this moment when like Apollo and Lily were like about to kiss, and Captain Trevelyan shows up, and they start brawling, getting out guns, fighting, but Captain Trevelyan's not in his same state as he was, being injured, and it doesn't really go great. But he actually listens to like, because basically Apollo had the upper hand. He could have killed him, he could have really hurt him, and he doesn't. And he kind of, Captain Trevelyan's like really smart, you know, he figured out the Ghost of St. Giles stuff. He kind of looks at him and he's like, and he had arrested him for those murders years ago. And he looks at him and he says, you didn't kill those men, did you? And so now he's determined to find out who really killed those men, because he put an innocent man in prison. I mean, he should have been actually hanged, but like one of Apollo's family members didn't want to have a family member that was hanged, so they put him in Bedlam. So now Captain Trevelyan is determined to find out who really killed those men and help him. And so we kind of have this really slow sexual tension also growing between him and Lily. They share like a first kiss, and it was so hot. There's nothing like Elizabeth Hoyt like builds sexual tension and chemistry in such a beautiful way, and like you're just like, oh my god, like they kiss and it's really hot. He like pulls her on his lap and it's very sexy. Like they have like a picnic together one night. And then what happens is one day he's actually going to plant this huge tree. He's trying to plant it in their location, and things go wrong, and it starts to fall, and like the little boy, his dog goes into the hole, and so the boy goes in too. So the tree is like going to crush them. And Apollo like screams out his name. And so he realizes, oh, I can talk, because she heard him laugh at one point too. And she's like, well, you can laugh. Like, why can't you talk? Because she could hear like with his voice. So yeah. So now he's able to talk, but it's very hard for him to. So he just very rarely does it. But yeah. So him and her are definitely like falling for each other. They have an amazing attraction. She had to do some caretaking for him because he was pretty badly injured after his fight with Captain Trevelyan. There's just all this stuff going on. And then Captain Trevelyan actually got some information, and he comes back with his charge, and they kind of have an interaction and everything. And he basically tells them, like, none of your friends had any enemies. You didn't, like, the only enemy you had that I've looked into is basically your uncle. And your uncle had a lot of debts, and if you were killed or whatever, he would inherit your father's like estate, and so then he would be okay. But he couldn't kill you outright because then he would be the first suspect. So that's kind of why they think the uncle did this and basically set him up, hoping that he would be hanged or like killed in Bedlam. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm trying to remember what else I was getting to. Oh yeah, I think I only got to like their first kiss, but they definitely have amazing chemistry, and I'm adoring this. Like, I love this so much. It's so amazing. And I love this hero. Like, he's like, oh, she looks at me like I'm something, you know, like no woman's ever looked at me like that. And he's like, you know, just smitten with her, and she's smitten with him, and I just love it. So anyway, sorry, I kind of had to rush this a little bit because I have to get into work, but I did want to do a check-in because I'm already halfway through the book. So I'll probably do like 50% and then finish the book on both of the books. That way, hopefully this will be a little bit quicker of a vlog. But I am loving this. She is the best at writing sexual tension and longing, and I'm just loving these two together. So, all right, I will check back in with you guys once I finish the book. Hey guys, so I am back. I did finish Darling Beast the other night. Sorry, I'm not getting to the check-in right away. I'm going to try and make this really quick because I actually have to head to work and I'm running a little late, but I wanted to get this filmed real quick because I really love this book. I mean, Elizabeth Hoyt is just blowing me away with the Maiden Lane series. They've all been like pretty much 5 stars and a 6-star, except for one that I gave 4 stars because the heroine kind of wasn't my favorite. But otherwise, every book has been freaking fantastic, and this is a new favorite in the series. I just love it so much. Like, each one gets better and better. But I'm going to kind of sum it up pretty quickly because I'm not going to go into all the details, just kind of my feelings on this because, again, like, my vlogs are kind of long usually. So, what ends up happening between them is just this really sweet kind of courtship. You know, with Apollo being like the gardener, he's like creating, he has this master vision for the garden. He has this maze that he's creating. And like, there's this sweet moment where he even like takes her out to show her where the maze is. He shows her where the heart of the maze is. And he just says like such swoony things to her. I don't know if I mentioned in the last one, but his voice did come back. So his voice is like slowly coming back to him, so he's actually able to talk to her when her son almost got hurt. I don't know if I brought that up, sorry. But they just have some amazing, like, just sweet, like, moments together, and then eventually they do have sex, and it's super hot. Like, oh my God, like, I love their connection, their chemistry. That's the thing that Elizabeth Hoyt, and I'll say it again and again and again, she builds sexual tension, the chemistry, the longing, like, she builds it so well. And then she has, on top of that, amazing spicy scenes that just really hit you. And it was just amazing because it's even brought up in this that Apollo was like only been with women where he had to kind of like pay them. He feels like he's this big huge beast, he's this big huge guy that nobody, he's not like what you would consider a handsome man. But for some reason, our heroine, you know, Lily, she just is so attracted to him. But he had like a run-in with her brother because their brother is being kind of like a jerk to her and saying rude things about her play that he needed done quickly for money and everything. So he kind of like kicks him on his butt. And what ends up happening is he is discovered, and, you know, the dragoons or police are coming after him. So he kind of has to run for it. and he has to leave Lily and them behind because he doesn't want her tied to him in any way. So he goes to Asa, his friend, for help and everything. Now, there is another character that is brought up, and I'm trying to remember where I have him like highlighted in here, because he is like a new favorite character that I just want to bring up, because oh God, I'm trying to find it. But I think his name is Montgomery. Oh yeah, it is Montgomery. So he is one that's like going to help build up this garden and pay for this and everything. And he pretty much comes in and he knows exactly who Apollo is and calls it out, like that he knows who he is. And he's kind of a little villainous, but like in the best way. He's really funny. He's got hilarious moments in this. And he's like, likes to kind of like own people's secrets and manipulate people and get what he wants. So you never know. Like Apollo's like, I don't know if I can trust this guy, but I'm going to have to do it because he knows who I am and I need his help. So they end up like coming together, him, Montgomery, and Asa, to try and figure out how they can clear his name. And Trevelyan's involved in this as well. And there is gonna be a party with that, like this play that Lily's gonna be in, and she's attending that as well. That's gonna be at his uncle's estate. I think it's his uncle's. Yeah, it's his uncle's estate. And so they plan to go to that. His uncle had never met him, so he's able to go as like Montgomery's like guest or whatever, so that they can kind of like investigate the situation. And then he's able to see Lily there. She's like really pissed that he left her, but you know, she also, that's how she found out that he was accused of murdering 3 people. But she immediately like doesn't believe that he did that. And I just love that. She doesn't really doubt him that way. So they end up continuing their fling while they're there, and he's trying to look into his uncle. And I think it was pretty clear, like his uncle didn't really know what was going on. It was like his uncle's son. And that ends up being kind of like our villain in this, just to sum that up real quickly. But this party was really great. Montgomery was freaking hilarious. And the whole time I was like highlighting these lines of Montgomery. And that's another thing Elizabeth Hoyt does really well, is she sets up side characters in earlier books and then builds up to hopefully their book. So I'm like, I literally wrote down, I was like, Montgomery better have a freaking book, people. And I went and looked, like I had to look. So I think he has like a few books down the line is going to be his book. So, I mean, this guy was kind of giving me Sebastian St. Vincent, but a little bit more villainous, less rakey, but he is pretty a rake too. So I don't know. He's just a standout character. I loved all his moments in this, so I just wanted to bring that up. But what I loved about this was the relationship between Apollo and Lily. It is just so sweet. She actually freaks out when she finds out that he, you know, I think he's, a Viscount. And she's like, well, we can never be together. Like, I'm an actress, came from nobody. And he doesn't care. He's like, you're mine. Like, that's what I love about him, is once he decided he was all in with her and wanted her, he was like, she's mine. Like, I love her. I want her. I want to adopt her son. Like, he's just all in. And he's very alpha in the bedroom, and they have this amazing connection. So once they get like that whole third act of like figuring out who did this to him, because Lily ends up getting like taken by that cousin to kind of like meet up with him and draw him out to try and kill him. You know, it doesn't go that guy's way. Let's just say he's got, you know, Trevelyan, he's got Montgomery, all of those people on his side. And so we're able to clear his name, and they have their happily ever after, and they are together. He adopts her son, and they have this beautiful family, and it's just amazing. Like, there was just so many sweet moments in this. I adored it, but I am running late, so I have to get going. But I just love this so much. I highlighted so many things, so many swoony moments. I just think Elizabeth Hoyt is a master in storytelling and her craft. She writes amazing witty banter. They had such fun banter together in this that just was so cute and sexy, and I loved it. So anyways, I gave this 5 stars. And it was 3 chilies. She always has a 3 chili for me because her spice hits, and it hits impactfully. Anyways, I got to get going to work, so I will check back in with you once I start the next book in the beautiful, amazing Maiden Lane series. Hey guys, so I am back. Well, I'm finally back with the second book that I'm reading for this vlog, and that is going to be Dearest Rogue. Please ignore these stickers. They're driving me nuts. I haven't removed them yet, so I got to get my goo off stuff and try and get these stickers off. It's always very tricky with older historicals or used books, though, so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, Dearest Rogue, I started this last night. I'm halfway through already. That's just something, Elizabeth Hoyt just sucks you in. She has such good character development. She has already established characters throughout this series that you already feel invested in their character. And so when you get to their book, you are excited, you feel like you know them already, and I don't know, she's just so good. So I just fly through her books. I think she is one of the best historical romance authors that I've read. She's become a favorite with this Maiden Lane series for sure. So I'm basically going to read her entire backlist. That's just something I'm going to be doing. I don't know how long it'll take me. I don't know if I really want to rush it with how historical romance is right now, and we're not getting a lot of new authors, but that's something I want to do. But anyways, enough of me rambling. Let's talk about this book. Okay, so this one is about Lady. I cannot fucking talk. Lady. Okay, Lady Phoebe Batten. She is the younger sister of, I think it was Hero. And then she is the younger sister of, I don't know if it says his name on here, but of the Duke. That was one of my favorite books, where he is kind of like, he was like the Batman, kind of character. He's a Duke. He's, was against all like the making of gin and all of that stuff. But also he was one of the Ghosts of St. Giles, where he was more vigilante and like kind of going after it for revenge. But her brother is very protective over her. So we've seen Phoebe in previous books, because this is what Elizabeth Hoyt does. She sets up these characters. And we did see Phoebe because she was his younger sister and a heroine's younger sister and everything. But she has been basically going blind for years. Now she was able to see some things. Like in this book, it's really devastating, because there was a point where she had her own garden, and she did like all the flowers white, because she was kind of able to see them a little bit better. So she was able to see some shapes and some things, but her sight has been going really rapidly. And so her brother is really protective over her. She hasn't really been able to have a season or do anything. He's very restrictive and controlling, and so she hates it. And she actually has a bodyguard, which is our amazing hero, Captain James Trevelyan. So James, or Trevelyan, was seen throughout the series because he was a very dedicated captain. He was part of the Dragoons, and he had been kind of going after some of these Ghosts of St. Giles. He ends up helping one, at one point. Like, he's a good guy. He sees like that the Ghost of St. Giles wasn't like a bad guy. And in one of the previous books, he gets badly injured. His leg is really messed up, and so he can't really be a captain anymore, because he can walk on a cane, but it's very painful. So he's not really able to do his job anymore like he used to. So basically her brother had hired him to be her bodyguard and to kind of just be there for her, make sure she's safe, not getting herself into bad situations, being able to guide her since she's blind. Oh, and I totally went off on a tangent and didn't even explain one of the sad parts about her blindness in this. So at one point, she's out in her garden with Trevelyan, and she's like, oh, it's too bad it's overcast today, because she couldn't really see the flowers clearly. And he was like, it's sunny. And she just breaks down. It's such an emotional scene, because she's like, this is stupid. I knew I would lose my sight completely, but to have it like actually happen is just devastating. And it was such an emotional scene. Like, he totally takes her in his arms and he's comforting her. So the thing is that Trevelyan is like smitten with this sweet girl. Like, this is an age gap. He's like twice her age, I think. But he's really smitten with her. And he really wants to protect her and keep her safe. but knows there's nothing that can be between them. He's very much comes off like the grumpy bodyguard, serious, straight-laced bodyguard to her. And she slowly starts to see him in a different light in this book and realizes how safe she feels with him and how she has a connection to him. But she has some people that are coming after her. They don't know if it has to do with her brother or her or what. And so this danger actually they get attacked a couple different times. And at one point in this book, Trevelyan isn't the reason that she's safe. Like the guy that she was talking to, she ends up kind of talking to the architect that is fixing up the pleasure gardens and like the theater from the previous book that I talked about. And he's thinking, oh, well, she could be with him. He's very jealous. But that guy ends up kind of helping stop these attackers. And Trevelyan feels like extreme guilt because he's like, I can't protect her. I'm too emotionally invested. And I need to like get away from this because I almost led to her being captured or attacked or anything. And so he actually resigns with her brother, and she's very devastated by this. She's like, don't go, like I need you, because she's finally come to realize that she really has a connection to him and she feels something for him. And there's this really awkward scene where she like tries to like rushly like kiss him, but she can't like fully see where he's at, so she just kind of like grabs him and goes for it. And I just loved it. Phoebe is adorable. She's brash, she's like feisty, and she's been through so much, like losing her sight and everything, and she's just such a sweet girl. I love her. And he kind of like pushes her away and like kicks her out of his room because she had gone to his room. And it was just devastating, because you know how much he really cares for her. Like he's totally in love with her. So he ends up leaving, and then she gets attacked and kidnapped. And so he feels even more guilt because he's like, I should have never left her. So he ends up finding out where she's at and getting her, rescuing her and everything. And they kind of realize one of her, like her maids had really like kind of got bought and gave information of where she was going to be in the morning. So that's why they were able to capture her. So he doesn't really trust that she's safe in that house, that somebody else could be easily bought. And until they figure out who is trying to kidnap her and what's going on, he's going to keep her safe himself. So they kind of go on this trip where he's taking her off alone with him, and they're going to have to like pose kind of as like husband and wife. He gives her like his mother's ring, and she's wearing the ring, and they are like sharing rooms as they're on this road trip. And I think he's actually taking her to his like hometown or whatever. And so that's kind of where we're at. I'm really loving this. I love Trevelyan. He's such a sweet, like cinnamon roll guy in this like rough, tough exterior. And, you know, he just thinks like they could never be together because of their class difference, and he's older than her and all this stuff. And Phoebe doesn't care. She wants to be with him. The other guy that was the architect actually proposed to her, and she turned him down because she's like, wow, am I comparing every man to Trevelyan now? Like, so yeah. So I'm loving this, of course. Already halfway through. I'll probably finish it today. So hopefully today I'll just finish with my final check-in. We'll see what happens, because it's been crazy busy right now. Like I live on my parents' property. Just a little side bit about what's going on in my life. I'll just rant here. I live on my parents' property. They had 11 acres out, like further out in the rural mountains of kind of like San Diego. And so I lived in my grandparents both had houses on that property. And when my grandparents passed, I was able to live in their house, and I like rent it with my mom. But she's decided after my dad died last year, like the 11 acres is really hard to keep up, and she just doesn't really think she can handle this property anymore. And she wants to kind of move to like 55 and up community, which is great. I mean, I think my mom needs to, but now it's the fact of like moving and getting rid of all this junk, and like, because I still have tons of my grandma's stuff in this house. This is a really old house. That's why the lighting's horrible. It has like horrible wood paneling walls. So I'll be happy to move. It's just going to be a lot more expensive, a big increase in rent, because that's why I was living here. It was like cheaper to rent with my mom. So it's just been stressful too, because I have a full house and I have to basically go down to like a 1-bedroom apartment. And so I have to get rid of a ton of shit. Like I have my son's stuff in his old room here. Like, so that's been kind of like my stress out right now, is like I have to just do this deep, thorough get rid of shit and cleaning of this house and start getting ready to find a new place to live. So that's my stress right now. So I'm hoping to try and work on it like every day in the house. But I don't know. It's a lot. There's a lot to do. But anyways, that's just a little side rant about what's going on in my life. I will check back in with you guys once I finish this book, and I'm sure it's going to be another amazing one. I just know it because I'm loving it so far. Hey guys, so I am a little late again, probably. I don't know if it was like this on the last book, but I'm a little late getting to this check-in, the final check-in on this beautiful book, Dearest Rogue. This sticker is really driving me nuts. I was hoping I would have it removed by the time I did another check-in, but here we are. So I finished this book a few days ago, and I'm just now getting to it. I'm sorry. Work has been crazy. I've been super stressed out dealing with trying to like slowly go through my house and get rid of shit. So it's just been a stressful week, and I haven't gotten to my check-in, so I apologize. And I was debating on how I wanted to rate this. I was kind of flipping between a 5 and a 6 star. But as I think about it, and probably as I talk about it, we'll see what I'm thinking here. So I really love this book, obviously, if I'm bouncing between those ratings. I loved James Trevelyan so much. Trevelyan is just this tortured, wounded, grumpy hero that has this ooey gooey center that is just he's so smitten with our heroine. And Phoebe, I said Phoebe. Phoebe is such an amazing heroine. Elizabeth Hoyt writes some amazing heroines. She's probably one of my other favorites. God, why can't I remember her name? Shoot, but she was the one that married actually Phoebe's brother, but she was my other favorite. But I loved her so much. This last half of the book deals with a lot more of an intimate kind of secluded setting, because James actually takes her to his family home, which he hasn't been to since he signed up into being the Dragoons. And there's something that he kind of had to run from his family, and like stuff that happened when he was younger. And so she's going to his home with him to be around his dad, who's this grumpy kind of guy. He is a horse breeder, and and then he's got a sister. She does have special needs, and her sister had a child. And so she is staying with them and kind of seeing all this tension between him and his father, and just so much history there. And what I just loved about this is her getting to know James, and James opening up to her. We get to learn about what happened to him, because a man had basically assaulted his sister. She was special needs. She was out on her own. His father had always made him responsible for keeping an eye out for her. And I think he was like 22 when this happened, so it wasn't like he was a kid or a teen. So he felt even more responsible, because she does get assaulted by this guy and she ends up getting pregnant. And he ends up beating the guy almost to death. And he's part of an influential family, so they wanted his head and everything over this. So he basically went off and signed up for the military, to be in the Dragoons, and became Captain Trevelyan. So we find out about that, and it just adds so much more depth to his character. You see where he has so much guilt, all this responsibility and heaviness on his shoulders. And so but what I loved about this was all these intimate moments between him and Phoebe. And what made this so amazing to me was Phoebe, she is blind. She's been going blind for years, and she's basically been forced to live in a gilded cage by her brother. He didn't let her be a part of like society, go to events, having a coming out, be part of the 10, and do like balls, and have men courting her. She didn't get any of that, and she had like really no freedom. He's very controlling. He's doing it out of place of protection and love for her, but she just feels so stifled, and it's just torture for her. And so she kind of finds a freedom with James, because as they're out there, he also wants to protect her and like look out for her. And so, so she doesn't get hurt or whatever, always guide her and be there for her. But he realizes she feels like a prisoner. She doesn't feel free. And so he offers her that freedom. And there's a scene that was just so moving, like where she wants to go walk out into the moors. And she wants to walk out into the moors, and he doesn't want to let her do it on his own, because she's like, she could fall, she could get hurt. And he realizes he can't do that. Like, she can fall, she can get hurt, she'll grow. She needs this freedom. And so he lets her do it on her own, and it's like the freest she's ever felt, and she feels so safe with James. And it was just truly beautiful. Like, as I talk about this, and I get like emotional thinking about it, I got emotional in a couple scenes in this. I think this has to be a 6-star, because the way James was for her, how he kept her safe and worshiped her and loved her, but then also wanted her to have freedom and, feel alive, is something that she was missing her whole life. And it's just really beautiful. Of course, they have amazing chemistry. I love how Phoebe like really pushes things, because he's too scared to go there with her. But once he decides, they're all in together. And a lot of this is just this tortured feeling of James feeling like, he's lower class, she's, a lady, and he's just not worthy of her. But Phoebe doesn't give an F, and she lets him know she doesn't give an F, and that she wants him. Like, she loves him, he loves her. So there is a whole thing resolved of like who is coming after her and who is responsible for it, because eventually word gets to them from her brother, which he hid her from her brother, which really pissed him off, that they got the guy and whatever. So they come back into town, and he basically kind of tells the brother, like, I want to court her, like, because he tells her, like, I want to pursue you, I want to be with you. And she's like, hell yeah. But now they have to deal with her brother, and if he'll agree to this. And Phoebe kind of like lays into her brother and puts him in his place, and I just loved that scene. He's just kind of like shocked. But she ends up getting kidnapped again, and we find out it was like the architect guy that did it, but he was being blackmailed. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Lord Montgomery, who is our shady, villainous kind of guy that I've been really intrigued by. And I really like his character, even though he's bad, And there's this woman, I think her name was Anne. I can't remember her name. I think it was Anne. She was like kind of had an interesting relationship with him, and you're like, who is this? Who is she to this guy? And you find out it's his sister. So she was helping him. She didn't realize she was helping him for nefarious purposes when she had invited Phoebe to like talk about the theater and art and stuff. And so she's pretty pissed off when she finds out Phoebe's been taken, and she goes to the Trevelyan and them to tell them her brother probably is responsible and has him. So Montgomery was doing it because he hated her brother for getting rid of the gym business, which lost him a lot of money, and he was just being petty and kind of going after him. So he's not in a good place at the end of this book. He gets a beat down on him, and who knows what's going to go on with him. So very interesting. Again, great interest in side characters that she's leading into the next book, because I'm guessing the next book will probably be Anne, if that's her name. Sorry, I might be wrong. But anyways, this was beautiful. I loved their romance. I thought they were so beautiful together. He is just so this like grumpy, stoic, tortured hero, and he falls hard for beautiful Phoebe, who has so much positive energy, even though she's been through so much, losing her sight, and I just love them together so much. So I'm going to settle with the 6-star with this, just as I've talked about it. There's so many beautiful moments in here. But anyways, I got to wrap this up. I had to do this right when I left work, so the light's fading outside here, but I just wanted to get this check-in done. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of these books, and I will see you guys on the next one. Real quick, we'll just show off the beautiful step back we have of Trevelyan and Phoebe. So beautiful. All right, guys, see you on the next one.